You better run, you better run. There's a man who fears no one, no one. Run, you better run, you better run. And if he finds you, you'll be done, done, done.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Killing Time with Kayla, episode 2. I am so moved by the response that I got from episode 1. I've been watching all of your comments and your engagement, and it has definitely meant the world. So I'm excited for us to continue on for episode 2. Now, I do recognize that episode 1 was a little bit all over the place. It was long. I was kind of introducing the podcast or the show. But this time I want to introduce some structure that we're going to have moving forward so that's a little easier to follow along, because I know I am very guilty of rambling for a long time if no one shuts me up. So each week I'm going to give a review of 2 horror films. One that I am watching with fresh eyes that may have come out many years ago, and then one that I just watched maybe for the first time, one that's brand new. And we're going to call that segment The Real Talk with Kayla. Real as in R-E-E-L, like real. I also will take some time to read and respond to some tweets that you have sent me about the previous week's discussion. That segment will be called Kayla's Real Reactions. You get it? Also, each week we will have a debate segment. I do think it's very important to have real discussion surrounding movies and the controversies. So this segment is going to be called Keeping It Real. And finally, I want to talk about movies that are coming up, and that segment will be called Kayla's Real Forecast. So there you have it. 4 really fun segments that I want you to be involved in. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Real Talk, the 2 movies that I recently watched, one old and one new. And we'll go right into a very iconic movie, The Sixth Sense. Now, I'm sure everyone watching this has seen the film. I don't think I've seen it about since it came. I think I was like 8 when it came out. Maybe I was around 10 years old when I finally watched it. And at the time, I didn't appreciate its brilliance. It was just scary to me, A little Haley Joel Osment saw dead people. And then I was on this, watching the screen with dead people with lady's head blown off and Misha Barton just puking in the tent when she was, it was scary for me. But, all these years later, getting to sit back and watch it and really take it in and appreciate it was really special. First of all, the cast was, off the charts. The acting was so good. Bruce Willis, Donnie Wahlberg, Toni Collette, of course, who was the mother in Hereditary, all around a phenomenal cast and phenomenal performances. But what I realized with this movie, watching it now with fresh eyes, is how horror, even though it's horror, it can also be beautiful. And I felt like this was one of those instances where it was heart-wrenching, and I was sad and I shed a couple tears when you kind of realize what was happening in this movie. So as we know, Bruce Willis's character was shot early on by a former patient of his, played by Donnie Wahlberg, Vincent. And then we kind of fast forward to the next year, and we see that Bruce notices young Cole, played by Haley Joel Osment, and he immediately has this interest in him, and he wants to help him. And he wants to do that because he has this guilt that he failed Vincent all those years ago. Something that, again, I didn't realize as an adult. Some of you are you're a horror fan and you didn't even pick this up. Again, I'm just watching this for the first time in all of these years. We know that Bruce Willis's character is dead. And Cole knew this the whole time. We saw him run into the church, his safe haven, when he noticed Malcolm following him. And he always knew, but I think obviously he got used to him and liked having him around. And then we just followed Malcolm, following Cole even into his home. We saw that scene in the family room where Malcolm was sitting with Cole's mother, and we didn't see them interact, but you're like, okay, maybe they had a conversation. Now Cole's coming in and it's over. We saw that scene where Malcolm was supposed to be meeting his wife for their anniversary dinner at the restaurant. He made some joke about being at the wrong restaurant, and his wife was just cold. She grabbed the check, signed it, said happy anniversary, and walked off. Oh, that seems like a pretty, relatively normal reaction for an angry wife at her husband for being late to their anniversary. And of course, one of those final scenes, and his wife is asleep, that we all realize what's happening when Malcolm realizes that he was dead all along. So anyway, that's, my way of explaining the movie. But the point is, the movie was classified as a horror movie, but it was heart-wrenching. And even though it was horror, is an example of how horror can also be beautiful. All right, that's that one. Now let's talk about a new movie that I watched. It hit Netflix pretty recently. It's Don't Move. pretty much a typical cat and mouse movie. The film follows a seasoned killer played by Finn Wittrock, who we know probably most famously from his recurring roles in American Horror Story. And he injects a grieving woman, Iris, played by Kelsey Asbill. I hope I'm saying her name right. We met her as a prominent character in Yellowstone. But he met her on a cliff where she was ready to end it all. She was going to jump off the cliff that her young child had accidentally fallen off and died previously. And then he was shot, he was like this charming hero, sitting there thinking, oh, he's going to talk her off the ledge quite literally. And they bonded and connected, and he talked about a girlfriend of his that, died many years earlier. But, lo and behold, big surprise, he was a liar. So the rest of the movie basically just follows Iris trying to run from him before the paralytic agent actually hits her. It does. She does become completely paralyzed. He catches her. She can't move. She can't talk. And that's basically the entire movie. And there were moments that I got frustrated because I was like, some things were so unrealistic where you're sitting there like screaming at the screen, like that wouldn't really happen. But I will say there were plenty of moments of suspense. I was like very eager to see what would happen. So I wouldn't say the movie was on the Sixth Sense level by any means at all, but I would recommend it. I enjoyed it. It's not going to be groundbreaking. Again, it's a typical cat and mouse movie, but you check it out if you have nothing else to watch. Okay, now it is time for the segment, Kayla's Real Reactions, the segment where I told you I'm going to give you some feedback on the responses you gave me to the previous subject from the last episode, which was, is killing kids okay in movies or is it going too far? So let's see what some of you had to say. Emma, not a fan of killing kids on TV. If the storyline plot can justify it and not gory and detail, I could kind of accept it. But killing for killing's sake, I think, okay, maybe pan away and let our imagination take us on that journey. I'm not so sure. I mean, okay, I can understand that. So basically what you're saying, if it makes sense for the plot and it pushes the story forward, maybe you could deal with it. But overall, you're saying you're not a fan. Let's not do it. I respect that, Emma. Thank you for your response on that. As someone that hates the Terrifier movies, people are overreacting about it. It was relatively tame compared to watching a trauma movie back in the 90s and watching a kid get ripped apart by a car. They didn't even really show it in this movie. That was my point. I am with you on that. They alluded to the butchering of this child in the Terrifier movie, but we didn't actually see it happen, whereas in other movies, we actually see the physical murder of a kid. Really great point. Great point. Okay. Now we have at I am King Slater. I mean, a kid was eaten under the bleachers in It, Chapter 2, and I'm shocked people didn't complain then. Right? And Georgie got his damn arm bitten off in Part 1. Okay. Good. We're all, a lot of us are agreeing here. Oh, this one cracked me up. A lot of you sent this meme in, and I really appreciated it. I just had to add it in because I do find it funny. Fuck them kids. That's a consensus for a lot of you. Scott Fishman, he just said, just no pets. Facts. Amen. We are with you on that. Let's do one more from Lee. Alfred Hitchcock said in film, when it comes to violence, you can do anything to a man, some things to a woman, and nothing to a child. I know times have moved on, but I still kind of stand by this. Okay, so there's a different opinion. All great opinions, but I can, pretty much guarantee I don't think we're going to see the discontinuation of kids getting killed in movies anytime soon. So I guess you're just going to have to know going into it whether you want to sit through it or not. All right, now it is time for our third segment, Keeping It Real. This is, of course, where I want you to get involved. I want you to debate. I want you to let me know what you feel about what I'm talking about, even if it means you don't agree with me. And we know a couple nights ago, something really big happened in our country. The little election. We have a new president. And so I want to start this by saying there will never be a moment on the show that I'm trying to sway your opinion about how you feel about anything in politics, and this is never going to turn into a political show. But I do want to talk about issues that are relevant, and considering how the week has gone, I thought this was relevant. And so we're going to be talking about the movie that came out back in 2016, The Purge election year. That's the third one, I believe, in the series. And of course, it was surrounding an election. And the question that I really want to pose to all of you as we go through this segment is, was the intention behind the film, we're talking about the intention behind the film, was it to provide serious critique of social issues, or do you think it was for entertainment purposes only? So I'm watching it back. 8 years later. Again, it came out in 2016. And what was really crazy, because I honestly forgot about the entire movie. What was really crazy was seeing one of the first scenes, the Capitol getting raided. Like, it felt like such foreshadowing because, of course, we know years later, we saw that happen. We saw that happen. The movie follows Charlie Roan, who is a senator. She's up for presidential election. Her family was slaughtered by the Purge many years prior. And we learned that the NFAA, who's the new founding fathers of America, changed a law that no one was exempt from the Purge this year. I wonder why. What are they up to? We find out what they're up to. The reason they want to do that is because they want to get Charlie Roan out of the picture. They want to purge her so that she will not be the president. And her whole agenda is to end the purge. And the NFAA, they just ain't about it. So the movie follows her along with her security guard, Leo, small business owner, Joe. We love Joe. His friend and employee, Marcos, and this badass, Lainey Rucker, who saves the day on more than one occasion. And they're just doing their best to survive the purge while also protecting Senator Roan until it's all over so they can all see real change. So I think overall in this film, we see the film highlighting class disparity and government manipulation. Joe, who's one of the main characters, he is an African-American small business owner. He has a deli. The day before the purge, he gets a call that said his purge insurance policy was being raised thousands of dollars, and if he didn't pay it right then, he was not going to have protection during the purge. We saw the homeless targeted in the movie. The government wanted to get them out of the way so they didn't have to take care of them anymore. So it does really raise the question, how does this reflect real-world economic inequalities? Is a purge a commentary on the consequences of societal structure? At one point, Lainey, who's the African-American badass in the movie, she saved the day many times. She said to the senator, and this is a really big point, she said, in my experience, my people, her people, people of color, African Americans, are on their own no matter what you say. So, I mean, do you feel that that's accurate in the current political climate? Also, this film is so freaking gory, like disgustingly. I would love to know the amount of blood bombs and whatever effects they had to use to put this movie together. But do you think a film like this glamorizes violence, or do you think it serves as like a cautionary tale? Are we desensitized to violence portrayed like in movies like this? Or does it start provoking critical conversations that we need to have? I mean, I'm not saying that something like this to this extreme could happen. I don't know, maybe it could. But are these movies, again, desensitizing us to the possibility of something like this? But also we can, shift the perspective a little bit. On the flip side, some critics can argue that at the end of the day, horror films are just that, horror films. They're designed to entertain us, thrill us, and scare us. These filmmakers could just simply be capitalizing on societal fears, or are they trying to add some social commentary? Again, it goes back to the intentions. I feel like these are just kind of good questions to think about as we are moving into another era, and what that could mean for society. How did you feel about the movie when you did watch it? Did it leave you feeling entertained solely? Were you unsettled? Were you inspired to maybe start thinking critically? Did it make you really think about our political landscape? And do you think entertainment can effectively tackle serious societal issues, or do you think it's just for escapism? Okay, finally, for our final segment, we have Kayla's Real Forecast. And again, this is the part of the show where I talk about movies that are coming up that I'm excited about. And the movie that I'm talking about is coming out today, Heretic, starring Hugh Grant. A24 went and done it again. We see in the preview, the women arrive at Hugh Grant's house. They're there to deliver the message of the Mormon faith. Hugh Grant convinces them to come inside of their house by saying that his wife was in the next room baking a pie, so nothing for them to worry about. They fell for it, and then I think all hell breaks loose. And I think the purpose of this film is to ask the question, why do we believe what we believe? So I'm really excited to see that. And that will actually be the movie that we start off talking about next week on the show. I'm gonna have my good friend and comedian Martin Morrow in here to break it all down, and we might be nibbling on some blueberry pie, maybe some apple pie too. But anyway, that is all for this week's episode of Killing Time with Kayla. Again, please, please, please like, subscribe, comment, follow. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there was any part of the show today that you didn't enjoy. And we're working on this together. So but I do appreciate all of you watching. I appreciate your support. And that is all for now. See ya.